And here we are in Game 3 of the PokerStrategy.com Team Liquid Star League. Mondragon is up 2-0. Germany is taking the early lead against the American Superstar. And here we have Nony spawning at the left position as the blue Protoss, having an absolutely perfect split. A sublime split of probes right off the bat. And we have a whole bunch of drones over here on the right side because Mondragon is the yellow Zerg. And, you know, I was talking a little bit about how I was pumped to see Nony's big reveal of his strategy in this first set. Or excuse me, in this third set. But what's great about Tornado is that with all the weird, funky movement patterns, Mondragon is going to have the huge benefit of being able to exploit his amazing in-game decision-making. I mean, as we saw in Destination, he did not fall for that Zealot Archon attack at the right to distract from the Dark Templar trying to run into the natural. It's really incredible the amount of focus Mondragon has on all points of the map at the same time. And if there's any map that demands that sort of skill, it's going to be Neo Tornado.
Right. Another function of the map that I want to point out, if we can reveal the map really quickly, is where Nony is going to take his third base. We can see this base to the south of him is obviously the most obvious point, but that ramp's a little wide, gives a lot of units access up there, and a lot of room to drop and play around in that base. So not the safest base. I'm going to be interested to see if there's a bit of a battle for the 6 o'clock, or if he runs up and takes another main or another natural. Because when I play Protoss on this map against Zerg, I always feel really uncomfortable with that third base.
And one thing that's really cool already about Nony's scout pattern, notice he scouted down to the south side, and given his positioning, Mondragon is going to be sending his Overlord to the bottom left, because notice Mondragon's Overlord floats right over that natural expansion, so we can see Nony early expanding himself. But this means that when Nony scouts with his probe, that probe is going to intersect that Overlord. So that means that if Nony scouts the bottom, and he does see an Overlord and he's returning, he scouts to the right. If he doesn't see an Overlord, he scouts straight to the north. It basically turns it into a 3-player map. So it's a really nice opportunity for Nony to be able to squeeze that Nexus out as quickly as possible. We do, in fact, see that Forge has gone down, but no cannons up yet. Nony's going to get that expansion up very quickly, and everything's going pretty normal on the Mondragon front. Just regular 12 hatch, 11 pool.
Mondragon is really winning the gamble here of 12 hatch against a Protoss. If he gets, oh, and look at this, the drone going down at Nony's natural. You don't want to fight a probe with a drone. Those little shields, my god, they regenerate quickly. So Nony getting that Nexus down, and now he gets to put down the gateway before the cannons, just adapting his build very properly. But as I was saying, if you gamble on a 12 hatch and he scouts you first, you get in this like kind of flustered position where you're trying desperately to get that natural down, and that probe will not let you. But Mondragon really getting an advantage every game thus far. Nony not scouting him, and that means he's getting the 12 hatch down, whereas Nony is forced to put the Forge down first. And I mean, it's just a little advantage, but it makes your builds that much more comfortable as you move towards the mid game.
Yeah, I mean, this is real interesting to me that Mondragon is opting to take this bottom base. I mean, great decision-making here. I love this style of Zerg, where you take your natural and another main's natural and turtle up hard and rely on Mutalisk to get control in the mid-game, and then you just get a Giganto army of pretty much whatever. It's really that opening that allows you to do that. But if we just look at the mini-map, notice how spread out all of Mondragon's bases are. It's going to be very difficult for him to bounce back and forth between these two bases. And so that means that if Nony is aggressive enough in the early game, he could potentially just crush this defense that Mondragon's going to put up.
This Southwest Overlord, I'm a little confused why it's not moving in to take a look at the natural. Looks like it's more interested in units coming out by this little high ground over here, but it seems to me it would be more important to get up to the natural, see is that Forge spinning, but that Zergling going to be doing the same role there. He sees the Forge is not spinning, he can infer that it's going to be some sort of Stargate opening, and then take it from there. Nony forced to place the second cannon. I'm not sure about that. Did he lose his scouting probe? No, he's still got his scouting probe alive, so I'm surprised he's putting that second cannon down, as he doesn't really need it. He can see there's no Zerglings coming in towards his main.
Well, I mean, it kind of makes sense if you think about last game, because in Game 1, he played very straight up, very standard, very normal. In Game 2, Mondragon opened up with this weird 4 a hatchery and a Hydralisk kind of push, and then took a 5th base really fast. Absolutely brilliant opening by Mondragon, exploiting how big and wide open that center is on Andromeda. And it kind of threw Nony off. Actually, I mean, after the game, I thought that Nony had just disconnected, but it turns out that Nony actually just left the game with no GG. I mean, that's a very sort of uncharacteristic of a finals. I mean, that's sort of frustration that Nony must have felt start to finish, having this weird unorthodox opening and then having lost the cybernetics core and the attacks didn't quite go as planned and his money got a little high. Going into this game, he's really expecting anything. So that second cannon, I think, reveals so much about Nony's mental state right now.
So let's take a look at Nony's build here, actually. It looks like he didn't have enough with Corsair Reaver, so he says, let's do it again. He's got her Cybernetics core spinning, and he's got this Robo coming up at the natural. Mondragon just sprinting that Overlord, I mean an Overlord sprint, moving towards, so he's gonna get to see that Robo, so he's gonna know it's coming. That's a really big deal for Mondragon to have scouted this robotics. Had he not, he probably would have just inferred it's gonna be some sort of Citadel build. But we see the robotic support coming in for the main of Nony, and I like this on this map because Mondragon's taken this kind of, when he takes this other natural of another main, that says I want to kind of turtle with Sunken Spore Lurker, go to Hive, and then play the late game. And the way you can bust through that is with Reavers. So it's going to be interesting to see if Nony can pull this off. And Mondragon getting his Spire up a little late to counteract that. He's got his Hydralisk Den a little quicker and getting movement speed on those Hydralisks.
Yeah, I'm not so sure I like these extra hatch placements by Mondragon. They're kind of far pushed out. I mean, for instance, at the bottom expansion, I kind of get it, because you can build buildings to the right of that hatch and then build Sunkens behind and you're okay. But especially at the right, there's a lot of space there, and considering that units are a little bit thin, buildings are a little thin in the vertical dimension, I mean, you're not really going to be able to cover quite as much space. I prefer those hatches pulled back a little bit. So already, Mondragon making himself a little bit more vulnerable than he needs to be.
Right, if we take a look at his natural, we can see this hatchery here with is guarding the creep colony very nicely, but there's an opportunity to just run Zealots straight under there, and you take very few hits, as there's not really anything impeding their progress there. We see the shuttle out now for Nony, making a few more Corsairs. He's actually getting a Citadel now, so it's probably going to be some sort of first Reaver harassment with a few Corsairs. Looks like Scourge chasing some Corsairs. Now they fly away as the Corsairs head towards the cannon. But it's probably going to be either a Speed Zealot or some sort of Templar follow-up. If it's going to be Speed Zealot, I'd expect to see a lot of gateways followed up soon, and a lot of gas being mined for Nony, so it might be some sort of Templar follow-up here.
Yeah, I don't actually mind Templar opening so much. I mean, you can use Reavers and Cannons to secure that third base so well. Because as you were saying before, even though that ramp's a little bit fat, if you have a whole bunch of cannons there, and you have the early Templar and Reaver, it becomes super difficult to hold. And given the close air distance, it makes the Reavers super effective at bouncing back and forth between the bases.
The
then he takes out the shuttle. Oh my god, I didn't even... Was there anything in there? I mean, I don't think so. The Reaver count looks normal, but... I mean, whether it's normal or not, that is huge deal. I mean, as Zerg, you get this big sigh of relief as you're like, oh, great, no shuttle's going to be coming soon. I don't need to worry about drop. So now I'm actually clicking around on Mondragon's larva to see what they're being morphed into, and we see a whole bunch of drones being made pretty much everywhere. He's adding on a few Hydralisks, but definitely taking an opportunity that he sees right here. And over Nony's main, we see Zealot leg speed coming out, so maybe he had an expansion plan and canceled it upon losing that shuttle. Either way, a Zealot Archon Reaver Corsair push is super strong.
Losing that shuttle as Protoss, I mean, if you're feeling as Zerg, it's like, you know, cramming for that final assignment and then realizing it's daylight savings day or something. It just everything gets pushed back that much farther, right? So you just feel so comfortable now. Mondragon can just spend that much longer either improving his economy or improving his army to put pressure on. They're both completely viable, and looks like he built quite a few drones here. He's got a good saturation. Nony flying the shuttle around without Corsair support. Gonna run into some Hydras. This is really dangerous. Scourge coming in. He's got a drop in. Oh my god. Gets taken out. Where were the Corsairs? Look like they're in the middle of the map harassing. That is not where they want to be, leaving that shuttle to die a lonely death.
Yeah, and, you know, Nony's taking this left expansion right now. These Corsairs are killing off these Overlords. I mean, Dark Templar in the center of the map, but, I mean, Nony has to be frustrated right now. This is such a difficult spot for him to be in. He's at 80 food against Mondragon's 83 food. I mean, even though Mondragon's in the red, I would really put a significant advantage to Mondragon right now. Really, the only thing that's going to keep him alive is the fact that he has Corsairs and DTs in the middle of the map. If he can get this expansion up and running and start macroing super hard, he might be okay, but he hasn't finished researching Storm yet. It's about at 90%. He really needs to rely on those Reavers. And these Corsairs doing a pretty good job of harassing around in the middle. And oh, we see a bunch of Hydros trying to move in here, but they're going to get shut down super fast thanks to these DTs. And uh-oh, never mind. Looks like an Overlord's getting in here. And then there's a Reaver shot. Oh, only killing off 2. It could have popped right in the middle there, but again, Scarabs tend to do whatever they want, so tragic life of a Protoss player.
Seriously, wow. I feel so bad. Like, it seems like more often than not they don't go off. But we see the bottom left coming up for Nony. He's got a single Templar in his shuttle here. Looks like he wants to swoop around to Mondragon's bottom left. Shuttle now hanging out down there. A few Corsairs going to come with it this time. He's not going to repeat what happened last time. Moving down. Looks like it's going to unload. We're going to see a storm drop here. Taking out... Oh. Looks like just 2 drones get taken out there before he gets driven away. So not the best storm drop, but still... really good just to put some pressure on, kill what you can, and in the meantime, while doing this, he gets up his expansion for free. So you put pressure while you, you know, it's like your best defense is your best offense. You put on pressure, that gives you room to expand, and that's what Nony has exploited here.
Oh, did he just lose the... Okay, there's the shuttle over there on the left side. I mean, I saw all these Hydros move up north, and it looks like the Hydros only managed to take out a handful of Corsairs. So hopefully Nony's still hanging in there. He hasn't made any cannons at this left expansion yet, and if we look over at the right natural for Mondragon, we see a whole bunch of lurkers there. We see 3 evolution chambers researching +1, +1, +1. Well, actually, one of them isn't doing quite anything yet, just sort of hanging out there and seeing how things turn out before it begins upgrading. Don't want to overcommit too early. And this bottom expansion is only just now started for Mondragon, so this pressure that Nony's been putting on all game long is having a little bit of an effect on Mondragon's game plan. And notice that that base that Mondragon's taking at the bottom is super prime for dropping. I mean, that is perfect for Nony. He's going to love abusing that all game long.
Right, especially because he opened with this Reaver opening, meaning he has shuttle speed, so that's going to make harassment so easy. He can just zip in there with DTs, High Templar all game, just abusing that. It looks like Mondragon's spreading out. I'm surprised he's got... Looks like Canada scores, so that's 1-0 Canada.
Oh,
just for an update there. But I don't like that Mondragon's doing this this lurker maneuver here, just kind of sitting at his natural with the lurkers. I feel like that was his original game plan, but when Nony lost that that shuttle right at the start, he could have moved into more of a Hydraless game plan. And I mean, I understand it, but I feel like he could be being a lot more aggressive. He let that third base go up so easily.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that's I think is real important to note is that look at this army composition by Nony. There's not really that many Corsairs, so that Reaver is making me a little bit nervous. Oh my god, it almost flew right into the Scourge. Oh, my heart skipped a beat. But if we look over here into Nony's main, no cannons in the main. If we look over here at Nony's expansion, very few cannons to the expansion, and just, you know, a Templar and 3 cannons at that bottom base. Really, all the pressure that Nony's been putting on all game long has discouraged Mondragon from making any Mutalisks, and Nony knows he can get away with it. And look at Nony moving in for a big push at the bottom base.
And this is the function of opening up Reavers against this turtle play, is you can use the Reavers to just kind of like a siege tank, just push right in, take out the Sunkens, take out the Lurkers, but Mondragon having a lot of units, looks like he's going to counter to the bottom left to the third bait.
Yeah, I mean, if he can just take out this left base, or even take out Nony's main, then he knows that he can just rely on these 3 bases at the right. Here he is coming in. One storm takes out a few probes, but that's okay. Oh, beautiful storm! Look how many units he killed off. And Nony might be able just to whip back around and save this expansion. And oh, look at Mondragon only bringing some of his units over there, and the rest are moving down south. Nony needs to save these 2 Reavers. One of them manages to escape, and one of them does get taken down. And the Expo at the left for Nony has been taken out, but I'm not sure if it was worth it for Mondragon. He lost quite a few units. He did manage to take out 1 Reaver, though, so that means that push that was happening at that bottom base is going to get delayed by quite a bit. But if we look, Mondragon at 115 food, Nony's still at 145. So, oh my god, and look how many Dragoons Nony has. This macro is phenomenal. And he got another Reaver into the shuttle, so 2 Reavers. His push is not going to be slowed down whatsoever. Nony going to continue to just barrel down the front of this bottom base.
Right, I feel like it was very worth it for Mondragon, as he has Defilers out now. He can just turtle up, swarming on these lurkers, and abuse the fact that he's got 4 bases to Nony's 2 now. Nony gonna counter that with Reavers. Reavers coming down, 2 Scarabs taking out a lurker instantly. A couple of Zerglings just dealing with the ramp zealots there. Looks like Nony deciding to just push right in, storming on that lurker. Lurker gonna get taken out. More units flooding in, more storms going off, Scarab shots going off. Oh wow, Nony just cutting right through. We need a flank from Mondragon or he's gonna get busted up right here. Nony having a huge army left over. I'm surprised his army is so big. Swarm finally coming out, but at this point it's way too late. Nony just cutting right through. Mondragon with very few units left to reinforce. Mondragon desperately trying to get into that Nidus, but wow, I cannot believe Nony just cut right through. Looks like Mondragon has his mind on countering yet again.
Yeah, and look, coming right up here with a Zergling Defiler army, gonna try to do a little bit of magic, but oh, he's against Zealots and Reavers. And if we look down at this bottom base, no melee units at all for Nony, so he's just taken quite a lot of hurt from just one Hydralisk. But Nony has been macroing non-stop. He's almost mined out in his main. He needs to end this game immediately. He has only just now restarted that 3rd expansion. Nony knows that this was the time he needed to get the advantage. He is down 0-2. He needs to win this series. He was just going all out, macroing as hard as he can off 2 bases, delaying that 3rd, and it's paying off for him. He is now cleaning up Mondragon's 6 o'clock expansion.
Right, that was the true definition of the, the old Krantor and Hanbang, because if that didn't work, we can take a look at Nony's main. It's really completely mined out, and you can't beat a 3 or 4 base Zerg with only your natural. So it really needed to work, and Nony made it work. Mondragon coming in with a kind of a disorganized army here. Nony with so much storm, he's storming single Hydras. Finally the swarm going up, but the damage is already done from the storm. A lot of units being taken out. Mondragon's probably going to win the battle, but Nony getting very cost efficient. Flying down now with he's got a shuttle full of 2 Reavers. Gonna fly right in here, take out the hatchery. There's only 67 HP on it, so that's gonna go down in 1 Reaver Scarab there. Good night. And Mondragon, wow, back against the wall now.
Yeah, this expansion's finally done for Nony, but kind of cracks me up is there's this Defiler that's just been hanging out, wagging his tail. Yeah. I mean, if you even look at him, he looks happy. He's just wagging his tail, man. He's a happy Defiler. And if we look over here in the center of the map, we see this push by Nony continuing to advance across the right side with the popularly called Death Ball army. It's this little Doom push. It's that perfect composition of Templars, Zealots, Dragoons, Reavers, and Archons. But of course, those Archons were just taken out, but really, what can you do anyways? Oh, a play going on, getting so many of those units. I mean, Mondragon is trying to just waltz the sunken colonies up north, but those Reavers are just going to do so much damage against that swarm. The lurkers are trying to burrow, but one of them gets killed before any damage is done. Beautiful storm, a swarm going down, but it is just not going to be enough. This enormous army by Nony is just murdering Mondragon. Mondragon down to 84 food, Nony doubling it, getting those Dragoons and Zealots in there, taking out the sunken colonies that get no help from Dark Swarm. A lone Ultramalist jumps into the fray, but it is just not going to be enough.
Right, this is when you're Zerg, this is the time when you're just throwing units and it just doesn't work. You need to kind of consolidate your forces and come at it with another big attack with Defiler support in there. And Mondragon just does not have the time to get an army together to deal with this push of Nony. And this is going to clean right into Mondragon's natural and probably end the game. And there's the GG.
Good game.
Wow, what a game after losing his shuttle in the initial Scourge. Nony coming back with a vengeance.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think it's quite the vengeance that Nony had in mind. I mean, he did end up almost losing. I mean, he lost that 3rd expansion. He was in a really tough position where he absolutely needed to get into that bottom and kill it off, and he was able to pull it off. And I'm curious to hear Nony's thoughts actually on that game, to see whether he was still feeling comfortable after he lost that third base, because, I mean, especially after that failed early harass where he lost the shuttle, he was down to a point where Mondragon was actually ahead in food, so kind of a tense situation to be in, where you were almost down 3-0 in a best-of-7.
I still feel like Mondragon should not have gone straight for the lurkers as his original game plan dictated. After he killed that shuttle and he knew Reavers are coming, it's kind of like backing yourself into a corner when you know someone's going to be walking down the hallway. Like, he really should have just stuck with kind of a Saron, Hydra, Ling army, or even gotten Mutas out to deal with the initial Reaver and Scourge to take out the Corsairs. I really feel like he painted himself into that loss.
Yeah, you know, whenever I play Zerg, I just hate not having air control. If my opponent opens Corsair Reaver, I'm going to get that +1 carapace upgrade for air very quickly and get a really big Scourge Muta army just because I hate dealing with that sort of harassment. And Mondragon, instead, by opting for the army composition he did, that harassment was able to really kind of screw him up for a lot of the game. I mean, even though he prevented that first harassment from going on, the fact that that shuttle was able to bounce around the map relatively freely made Mondragon have to be a little bit farther pulled back, a little bit more turtle-oriented, so Nony was really able to get his footing back into the game, even though he was at a deficit, just because he created this sort of artificial passivity for Mondragon.
Right, very true. And the other thing I kind of want to point out as we're wrapping that game up is that the Corsairs really made Mondragon not want to switch over to Mutas, and we see the whole game the Mutas were not on the field. I mean, there wasn't a single Muta in the entire game. So if we took a look at Nony's his main, there's no cannons there the whole game. A Muta switch would have been very nice, but opening with that many Corsairs really took it off of Mondragon's mind. I think he really just didn't consider going Mutas.
Yeah, seriously. It's so funny to me that Nony had, no cannons in his main and had such little anti-air defense. Just beautiful thought process going on there by Nony, knowing the state that Mondragon would be in. So let's just go ahead and hop right into Fighting Spirit, which I know is a map that Nony really likes. You can get that expansion up very early. It's a super small entrance. We've seen in all these games Nony has actually used his Cybernetics core as part of the wall off to get away with fewer cannons. And I think on this map, he's not going to have to. I mean, he can get away easily with one cannon, a forge, and a gateway, walling off a lot of those entrances. Some of the positions you have a little bit of difficulty with. For the most part, it's pretty easy. And you get that third gas at your third base really early on. So it's going to be super late macro game style for Nony if he can get that third base up.
Right, and one thing I just want to mention here, I'm about Mondragon. I'm a little surprised that he would use that take another natural and then turtle with lurker style on Tornado, knowing that Fighting Spirit is coming up, because Fighting Spirit is very strong if you want to play that style. You get the lurkers in the natural, it gets locked right up. It only takes about a hatchery and an evolution chamber to almost completely seal the majority of those naturals, and we saw Sen do it against Draco. It really stands out in my mind with some of those blocks were just ridiculous. Zealots having to travel all the way around through the drones and then coming back around to hit like a sunken colony and some lurkers. So I would really expect to see that style on this map more so than Tornado, because it's really showed itself to work well thus far.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and hop right into Game 4 of the Grand Finals of the PokerStrategy.com Team Liquid Star League.